Hello everyone, let's take a look at the Account Booster module. It is in Special Modules, let's go to it. This module is needed to warm up accounts. Accounts are warmed up using the following method. Accounts communicate with each other. The most important condition, first of all, usernames must be installed on all accounts. That is, all accounts have a username installed, so that accounts can find each other and communicate with each other. Through the booster, accounts communicate only with each other. As I said, usernames must be installed on all accounts. Accounts add each other to contacts, which allows you to warm up accounts, even those that are in a geo-spam block, in a temporary spam block, and in an eternal spam block. Your accounts are added to contacts and communicated with. The logic of the text in this module is not important in terms of any dialogue with meaning. Therefore, we need to create a text file. It's better to do it in Notepad. Now I'm going to show you an example. Pay attention to the encoding of the file. And also I'll tell you right away, do more than 1,000 lines in the file, the more the merrier. The more accounts you use, the more rows you'll need. The software takes random lines from your text file. As I said, the logic of the text and meaning is irrelevant, because the lines are taken randomly and sent randomly. The very essence of the module is quite simple. You make a TXT file in which your messages go line by line. One line, one message. And accordingly, we choose it here, showing the way to it. The file from which the dialogues will be taken. The very essence of the module is precisely the warm-up of accounts through communication between them, since the accounts will be added to contacts and a certain trust will be collected from the accounts. That is, the so-called warm-up. Next, let's go through the options. The number of messages sent is the number of first messages sent. That is, if we specify, for example, 3 here, then each account will send 3 new messages first to your other accounts. Accordingly, there is no need to immediately set any higher values, cosmic numbers and other points. It is enough to first test on 1 to 2. Literally, messages from the account are sent, and this will be enough to understand how it all works. And, again, this is the number of first messages sent. That is, one account will send 3 messages to 3 of your accounts, different from yours. Then the second account will also, and accordingly, communication will go between the bundles of your accounts. In this way, dialogues will appear in your accounts. Accordingly, the more messages are indicated here, the more conversations there will be on each account. Next, there is a delay between messages, but this is a standard setting. Specify the values as well. Pause between messages. Look, on average, I always specify 30 to 60, 20 to 60, 50 to 100, depending on the accounts and so on. You can already start warming up accounts a few hours after registration. If you have high-quality accounts and you have good randomization in a text file, many lines, let me open it for you again. The more lines in the file, the better. A few hours later, they began to warm up. Slowly, that is, literally 1 to 2 messages were indicated and so on. And everything in this regard will go fine for you. If, again, subject to high-quality accounts and a large number of lines. As for strings, you can find some verses in the desired language line by line or generate random words, phrases, sentences. That is, there is already enough for your imagination. For example, I have all this generated through the so-called syntax. That is, you take words and randomly generate from 3 words in one line with various punctuation marks. Further, the flood is also indicated here. If the account catches a flood less than the specified value, it will wait and continue working when the flood time passes. If it catches more than the specified value, then, accordingly, the account will stop. We can select the accounts ourselves, or select the option All Accounts from the active folder. Then, when you enable this option, the software will use all the accounts that you have in the active folder. Now in more detail to the module modes. The module has 3 modes. These are sending and one response for all dialogues, sending and a cycle of responses, simulating communication, and simulating communication simply without sending. Sending, in the first 2 modes, this is where you specify the number of the first messages sent. And also, accordingly, with one mode of sending, one reply to all conversations will be sent to you from each account. This is the number of messages. New users, your new accounts are different and there will be a response to all conversations on the account. That is, to incoming messages from your accounts, will be read and answered. In the second mode, the sending is the same here, but there is also a loop of replies, several, in each dialogue. If you enable the second mode, you need to enable the startup control option and configure it, as this option requires multiple runs. Launch control is how many launches the software will make. That is, the software has gone through one round, that is, all your accounts have worked out, it has stopped. For example, if there are 3 starts with a delay of 50 to 100 seconds. Then the software will go through one round from all accounts. It will stop, wait for the specified delay, random, from this range, and start the second run. Then the same thing will happen with the third run, and only eventually, when it has made the specified number of launches, it will stop. And the third mode is to simulate only communication without sending, with this mode. In the meantime, let me remind you once again, make a lot of lines at once, preferably from 1000, so that you do not have any problems in randomization, in working with the module, and so on, and mode 3 to use it. Your accounts should have already worked on 1 or 2 modes, for example, in order to dial dialogues between each other, because in the third mode, sending these first messages does not work and new dialogues between accounts are not created. Communication is carried out only with the current dialogues between your accounts. Next, flow control is also configured. That is, how many threads the software works in and with what delay they start. Let's specify, for example, 30 threads with a pause of 1 to 10 seconds. Also in this module there is an automatic stop. That is, if a ban, spam block, flood, the soft stops. A value is also indicated, that is, if we specify in any of these values. For example, here we specify 2. And if the software receives 2 spam blocks for the task, 2 accounts receive a spam block, then the software will stop. And if we also specify only consecutive statuses, then the task becomes only if these 2 statuses are consecutive. That is, one after another. In this case, we don't need this option. That is, we select the mode. If you select, for example, all accounts from the folder are active, then we do not need to manually select accounts. And if this option is not enabled, then you need to manually select, for example, the accounts that will work for you in this module.
Take this moment into account. The settings are done. Everything is filled out. Let's launch the software. We have a console. It says that the launch is complete. Here, I have opened an account for you to observe what will happen. The delay between messages has started. Then the message sending begins. Since the account has been used before in a booster, those that work here, besides them, they start communicating with each other, sending the first dialogues. In addition to the module, there is also additional message randomization. As you can see, random emojis are added at the end of the text. I will now demonstrate everything to you. the work is done with the specified delays. That is, the ones we indicated in the module. Here, so that you can see the log, in this case, the log is displayed in the console. Therefore, all program actions are written in the console. If you have a log, well, in the software settings, the log is not displayed in the console. Accordingly, all program actions that are written here are written in the program actions, and these program actions are the log. As we can see, we specified 3 sent messages. Here are the incoming ones. Sent, incoming, and so on. That is, there is an imitation of communication, but we have chosen the mode of sending response cycles. Remember the most important thing about controlling the launch. If you have the module running, for example, you have specified all the settings and click Start and immediately receive the pop-up notification that the work is complete. Check your settings. Most likely, you either did not select a file with dialogues. I will repeat again, messages from the text file are taken randomly, line by line. Spin syntax is not supported. Randomization is supported only line by line, that is, the more lines, the more randomization accordingly. That's it, the software has already started responding to incoming messages. The response mode is written in the log. Communication is taking place between accounts, others. There are correspondences. As we can see, the account is warming up in this case, as there is communication. But this gives the account a very good trust. I will repeat again. There is no need to immediately set high values for the module. Set 1, 2, 3 messages, put a little more delay, select several accounts among themselves. Select the txt file with your phrases that are set with your messages and see how it works. Understand. Test it on your accounts. Thus, communication takes place between mutual contacts in the module. Because if you click on any contact who wrote on any dialogue, you will see that it is in the contacts of your accounts. That is, they add each other to contacts and thus communication takes place. And I will repeat again, since there are many questions, that accounts can be rotated in this module, even those that are in temporary spam block and geo spam block. Just take into account all the points, therefore start, test it. Understand how it works in order to choose optimal options for delays, approach, and the number of sent messages. And one more point. The total number of sent messages. Make it close to reality, as it is an imitation of communication. Warming up accounts, you need your data to be closer to real users. If you launch the number of messages sent is 100 and small values of delay between messages. Within 1 to 2 minutes, the software will add 100 people to contacts and start a conversation between them. I think you understand that this is too fast and unrealistic for Telegram. And here you specified small values in the number of messages sent. Launched, observed how it all works, how communication happens. Now we see that responses are happening in the log to incoming messages. The software goes through all accounts and responses are made to incoming messages. This is what we call imitation of communication, and since we specified the number of threads as 30, only 30 of our accounts were working simultaneously. The number of threads is the number of accounts working simultaneously. That is, if you specified, in this case, 30 threads, then 30 accounts work simultaneously, and when the accounts finish their work, they are replaced by other accounts until the selected accounts are exhausted. When all accounts have completed the task, that is one launch. The essence of the module's work, I think, is clear. So we can stop the module and see what will happen. The module finishes its work. As we can see, this account sent only 2 messages here, as it is an imitation of communication, complete random. A small dialogue took place here, a small dialogue also took place here. If we click on the contact, we see the phone number of the contact. For the user, it means that he is added to the contact list when communicating through this module. There is nothing complicated in using the module. Everything is quite simple. Everything is quite understandable, and the longer you use this module, using the same accounts. For example, at the beginning, you use it to send the first messages, then you use it to simply imitate communication without sending the first messages. The more dialogues you have on your accounts, the more current dialogues you have in communication, correspondence, and so on, which, I think, you understand yourself, gives a certain trust to the accounts. This account, that is a very good tool in modern times. When working with Telegram, it helps to effectively and qualitatively warm up accounts. And another main question, how long should accounts be warmed up? I will answer right away. It varies. Someone warms up for 1, 2, 3 days. Someone warms up for 5 to 7 days, a little each day. Everyone has different strategies and approaches. You already test and try these moments for yourself. Draw conclusions on what works best and is more convenient for you. You can launch certain accounts for a couple of hours each day. You can simulate communication for 6, 7, 8 hours in one day with longer intervals. For example, you can periodically launch them. For example, you work with accounts and periodically warm them up, adding dialogues, adding communication, giving them trust. Between actions, for example, you send invitations to chats, and between your invitations, and between, you warm up the accounts through a booster. So, here it is up to you and which strategy based on tests you will adhere to more. The module has completed all the accounts. The task is completed, we click OK, and accordingly, since the accounts were taken from the active folder, as we indicated in the settings before starting, the software takes random accounts, as we can see, those that were there. The booster module is indicated on them, and the rest of the software just hasn't had time to take them yet, because we specify 30 threads, so try, test. I have told you all the main points. Remember about the settings. Pay attention to everything you launch, that is, do not skip the settings and remember what I told you earlier. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye to everyone.